Jacksonites, and welcome to my latest re-review of an old movie that I've done. Today I'll be re-reviewing the first zombie movie that I ever discussed on my channel, one of my favorite zombie movies of all time, and in general, one of my absolute favorite films of all time. Today I will be discussing the criminally underrated, hilarious movie, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. And oh man, how much do I love this movie. Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse is kind of an interesting film for me because I remember seeing a lot of the hype that surrounded this movie when it first came out, but I also remember the film, unfortunately, just not really making that big of a bang when it finally hit theaters. And I finally, after it was out of theaters, I think it was like mid 2016, when I finally got around to deciding I wanted to see this movie, ordered it off of Amazon, and I watched it, and holy shit, was I absolutely blown away. Though, like I said, it's criminally underrated, and unfortunately did not make much of an impact. The film had a budget of 15 to 24 million dollars, and it only made 16.1 million dollars in its box office. And I really do think that's a shame. However, unfortunately, I think we're past the days where really good zombie movies can be released into theaters and be received well by critics and fans. If you want to make a good zombie movie, unfortunately, direct to DVD is all that you got, unless you can manage to get something popular that's zombie related, like The Walking Dead or Resident Evil. But even then, I think the best you do is a Netflix show, or you can do some sort of random obscure zombie comic book and adapt it into a TV series, also like Walking Dead, or my personal favorite, iZombie. Actually, hmm. So anyway, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. I do wholeheartedly admit that, in my opinion, I think this is one of the greatest zombie movies ever made. I think it's one of the funniest zombie movies ever made, and I think it's one of the most underrated zombie movies ever made. I would put this movie up there with the greats of Dawn of the Dead, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, that is, the original Day of the Dead, the remake of Night of the Living Dead, and so on and so forth. Um, so with all that said, let's get into the plot of Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. The story is a pretty simple one, and well, admittedly, that's kind of the problem. One of the problems that I have with this movie. I'll get to that later. Three high school sophomores, Ben, Carter, and Augie, played by Ty Sheridan, Logan Miller, and Joey Morgan, respectively, are trying to recruit new people into their scout group, led by their leader, Scout Leader Rogers, played by David Koechner. And it's clear that two of them are, not very happy doing this. Augie has always been happy about being a scout. However, Ben and Carter have been growing distant from the way of the scout way, and they're just kind of thinking, "I'm getting tired of doing this. I kind of want to quit." And Carter tries to convince Ben to quit, but as Augie is about to get his condor patch, uh, Ben just can't quite bring himself to do it. And their conversation of quitting is um, is cut short, as while on the way home from their scout meeting, Ben accidentally hits a deer with his car in the middle of the road. They manage to get help from Carter's sister, who was driving by with her boyfriend Kendall, as well as a couple of her friends. And Ben, who's always had a crush on Kendall, gets some advice from her, and they all see that this dead deer that they smashed into has vanished. And before they leave, the two are invited to the secret seniors party, and the address to the party is given to Carter by one of Kendall's friends, Chloe. Um, They decide to go to a liquor store to get some beer for the party. They run into a cocktail waitress named Denise who works at a local strip club, played by Sarah Dumont. Oh my God, she a gorgeous woman. She and Ben kind of hit it off, and she agrees to go inside the liquor store and buy them like a 12-pack of beer. And the two then meet up with Augie in the woods, set up their campsite, and wait for Scout Leader Rogers. And that night, while still concerned about the disappearance of Scout Leader Rogers, beforehand he had been attacked by a zombie deer, however, which is the same deer that was hit by Ben's car. However, he manages to kill it by stabbing it through the eye. He's attacked by a zombie, a human zombie, that had escaped from a local, like, militaristic hospital base that was nearby where a zombie outbreak had occurred. One of the zombies got out and killed Scout Leader Rogers. But however, the trio of scouts talk about how great their friendship had been and how much they enjoy being scouts before heading to sleep. And before the night is out, Carter wakes Ben up so they can go to this party. However, Augie catches up and is disappointed by their choice of abandoning him to go to a party. The two drive into town to find that the town is completely deserted, and the bouncer for the strip club is no longer standing at his post outside the door, and they sneak in. However, they are almost immediately attacked by a zombie stripper and the bouncer, who has become a zombie. However, they are saved shortly by Denise, who is wielding a shotgun. And spends the rest of the movie in a spaghetti strap, white tank top, and blue short shorts. I love badass women with guns. Augie goes to Scout Leader Rogers' house to find him. However, he is attacked by Rogers himself, who has been zombified. And Augie manages to restrain him by setting him on fire with some barbecue spray and tying him to a chair. He then flees the house. Ben, Carter, and Denise go to the police station. However, they do find that the town has been completely evacuated, and they are chased inside the police station by a zombie horde into a holding cell. They wait there for hours. Eventually, most of the zombies get bored and wander out. However, a few stay behind and stay around the door trying to get at them. However, when the zombies hear loud music from outside, all of them leave. And seeing Augie, who had saw Ben's car while he was in town, runs in and unlocks the holding cell, freeing the trio. And they all escape the police station and they make their way down the highway. And after walking for a bit, the four are picked up by a military officer, Corporal Reeves. And they drive to the supposed location of the party to see if anyone had been evacuated. But however, they find out that the address that was given to Carter was fake. Because, Kendall's boyfriend's a douchebag. Played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, by the way. Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. The group starts to argue. However, we discover that Corporal Reeves had been bitten and turns into a zombie. Denise kills him by going all Lethal Weapon 2 on him and smashing his head in repeatedly with the car door. And they try to get a signal on his radio, and they hear information about at dawn the town is going to be bombed, and they then start panicking. Carter then remembers his sister's diary, and he figures that Kendall would have written the address to the party inside the diary, so they head to Carter's house to look for it. And the four take the Corporal Reeves vehicle and drive to Carter's house, and they manage to get the diary. However, more zombies show up, and they proceed to chase after the trio throughout the house. They manage to escape using a trampoline to get to the now zombified neighbor, Mrs. Fielder's house, which they end up killing, and they also encounter her zombie cats, which is probably the only scene in the movie I don't like to watch. From there, they take Mrs. Fielder's car and head off down the road, and the Ford find a dirt bike, and Denise takes it so she can ride out and get the military. And now left by themselves, Ben, Carter, and Augie make homemade improvised weapons. Augie making a gas-powered croquet ball shooter. Carter making a homemade crossbow that fires out nails. And Ben taking a weed whacker and attaching 2 sharp knives to it. And they proceed to head to the party. The zombies find the party and they go on a rampage, killing and attacking partygoers. And then the trio shows up armed with their weapons, and they proceed to mow down, literally in some cases, tons of zombies. However, they soon run out of ammo, and they lock themselves inside the building after getting everyone who's alive out of the party place, and the zombies follow them into the gym. Ben and Carter barricade the door when Augie reveals that he's built a homemade bomb that was hidden in Ben's backpack. And he manages to light the fuse when the zombies burst in, and the 3 escape through a garbage chute outside of the gym just as the bomb explodes, killing all the zombies. Denise and the military arrive at the scene, setting up medical tents and helping survivors recover, while the scouts reconcile their friendship and Ben enters a relationship with Kendall, thus ending the film. So how about this plot? Honestly, this feels like an extended pilot episode of a TV series. And admittedly, that's kind of one of my issues with the movie, is that as much as I love this film, I wish there was more to this plot, because it ultimately does feel very cookie cutter. It feels very standard and very basic, and I think that that's just a little disappointing. However, don't get me wrong, I still love this movie for what it is. It's one of my favorite movies, definitely one of my favorite zombie movies. I just wish that it was a little more fleshed out, but I'll talk about that when I get to the cons. And all the pros that I had for my original review are the same. I just have kind of tightened up the cons for the film. But the pros, let's get into them. Pro number 1 is that the acting from all the characters overall is very, very solid. Sometimes it's a little over the top, but I feel like it's over the top for the purpose of being funny. And for me, that does work, because I think this movie is absolutely hysterical, but I'll get into that in just a minute. Nobody really feels miscast in the film playing their character. They all give really decent performances. None of them are Oscar worthy. Don't get me wrong. Ty Sheridan as Ben. He's a really solid protagonist to relate to. Logan Miller does good as Carter. Carter is definitely, he kind of plays his character a little too well. What I mean by that is, you ever have that friend who is just a really, really raunchy kind of douchebag type of guy, but you can't help but be friends with him because at times he's funny and he kind of pushes you to do things that you at first don't want to do, but you end up liking them anyway. However, he is also one of those friends who kind of pushes you a little too far, and either A, ends up getting you in trouble, or B, just ends up having you do dumb decisions you'll end up regretting. So I feel like he plays his character a little too well, but he does a good job. And Sarah Dumont as Denise does a fantastic job in her performance. She's a total badass. She's she's a quick thinker. She's good with the shotgun. And she's got some great chemistry with the rest of the characters, particularly Ben. She and Carter kind of have like a feuding older brother, or not, older sister, younger brother type thing, where she's the one who's always telling, dude, pull your head out of your ass, you fucking idiot. Type thing. And, you know, their chemistry is great. Honestly, I wish that Ben had hooked up with Denise instead of Kendall. Well, the actress who plays Kendall, she does a decent job with the role. A, she doesn't have a lot of screen time, and B, her performance isn't that amazing. She honestly just plays like a standard modern day teenager at that point. But you know, she's not annoying. I'll certainly give her that. But I really do wish that Ben had hooked up with Denise. But I kind of feel like if they did, that would be a little controversial because they're sophomores, and I'm pretty sure Denise is in her early 20s. So you know, can't really exactly promote female statutory rape. So yeah, can't do that. But okay, if the two were seniors, or not two, if the three were seniors, and he decided to hook up with Denise, I really would have liked to see that because I feel like Ben and Denise hit it off much better than Ben and Kendall ever did. But anyway, overall, the acting and also the characters, that's pro number two. The characters are very good. They're very smart. They know how to think quick on their feet. They're good with their weapons. They're very, they sort of keep a cool head when it comes to killing zombies. Not at first. They kind of panic when it comes to seeing, oh shit, zombies are real. But then they quickly get over that and they just become very adept at killing them, which is great. So the first two pros that the acting is great and the characters are really good. The film's pro number three is that the film's humor. Oh my god, the film's humor. The humor and the jokes. These are the next two pros. The film's humor and the film's jokes are absolutely hysterical, at least for me. There's a lot of really raunchy sex humor in this movie, and coming off the Lethal Weapon movies, which don't have any raunchy sex humor, I praise those movies for not having that. That doesn't come off. I hope that doesn't come off as me saying I don't like raunchy sex humor. I do. There's just a kind of a time and a place for it. I can only take so much of it before I just get overwhelmed. However, this movie I think really, really, really does a good job with the raunchy sex humor. And not just that, the really stupid dick and fart joke style pranks that these two pull on each other. Sorry. It's just really, really amusing. One joke that had me just dying. It was really, really stupid when setting up the campsite. Augie was digging the bathrooms for the campsite because you know when you're out in the woods you dig a hole, that's your toilet. Carter got a bottle of water and started dumping it into the latrine, making it look like he was taking a piss. It was really stupid, but it just had me dying. But the one that had me dying the most was again during this was Carter was sitting on his lazy ass taking a nap, and Augie steps over Carter and like kind of hovers his ass above Carter's head, and Ben tickles his nose, causing Carter to wake up with a start and smack his face into Augie's ass. Oh my god. Oh, and actually, the funniest scene in the whole fucking movie is when the group are at Carter's house looking for Kendall's diary. Carter and Augie go downstairs to investigate some noise. Turned out the zombified Mrs. Fielder had made her way into Carter's house. And earlier in the film, it had been established that Miss Fielder is just like this mean old hag bitch. And zombified, she now has the opportunity to kill Carter. However, she wears dentures. And obviously, when you're zombified, it's not like your dentures suddenly become your teeth. So they fall out. Miss Fielder has Carter pinned down to the couch, pulls his fucking pants down, and she starts gumming his fucking ass. And you have Carter pinned down on the couch screaming, "Ah!" She's grabbing my ass! No, not my ass! She's grabbing my ass! She's grabbing my ass! Oh, shit. God damn this movie. Yeah, the jokes and the humor. This movie had me in stitches. Let me just end with that. So let's move into the last two pros that I have. Is that, well, kind of three, but I'm just the zombie kills in this movie are absolutely, or not absolutely. A couple of them are kind of cop outs, but a lot of the zombie kills in this movie are really, really, really good. Obviously, when you have a shotgun wielding chick going around blowing away zombies, when the zombies are shot, their heads blow apart, and there are little gaping holes blown into the zombies' torsos. And the effects are pulled off pretty well, but I'll get to those in a sec. So the impacts from the shotgun blasts are nasty and, you know, wet and gooey. So those are cool. But the best zombie kills in the film. Oh, there's another one. The way they kill Mrs. Fielder is Miss Fielder had shoved Carter's head into a window, and he had managed to slip away. So now Miss Fielder had her head through the window. So he just grabs the broken shards of glass from the broken window, jam it down like a guillotine, and slice her head off. But the best kills are when Ben, Augie, and Carter go on a rampage through the party, mowing down zombies. Watching zombies' heads get sliced apart by a bladed weed whacker. Seeing zombies get impaled through the head with like foot-long nails. And the best weapon of all is Augie's ball cannon. So when he shoots these, I think they're croquet balls, shoots these balls, and they just shatter a zombie skull, like blows clean through them. First time he shoots it, one ball goes through 3 zombies' heads. The last one literally just makes it explode. The zombie kills in this movie are really, really, really cool. And they're wonderfully gory. Which leads me into the last pro of the movie, and that is the special effects. Granted, these aren't the absolute greatest zombie special effects ever made. Like, you're not going to see rotten corpse zombies in this movie, which does make sense because these are fresh zombies. This is only a few hours after the outbreak. The makeup done for the zombies is very minimal. You see very pale skin. You see their veins have turned black all over their body. Their teeth are nasty and ugly, and their eyes, they put on contacts to the actors. Their eyes are white with pure red irises, and they have bulging red veins. So the makeup for the zombies, it's good, but it is also very minimal. You don't really see that many people getting their guts ripped out in this film. You just see really nasty neck wounds, which is fine for me. They do use CG for some of the special effects. However, I do also like the fact that they use practical effects as well as CG effects. Like the zombie's head exploding, that's a CG effect. However, I actually think the CG is pulled off quite well. It is very obvious that the effect is CG. However, I feel like because this is a comedy, nobody's really going to complain as much. If this is a straight up horror movie and they use CG effects, I kind of would have a bit more of an issue with it, because I would just be like, why the fuck can you just use practical effects? I mean, I would still say the same for this movie, because an exploding head, it's not that difficult of an effect, and they used to do it all the time in other zombie movies. However, here, because it's a comedy and it's supposed to be over the top and it's supposed to be funny, it's acceptable. So the special effects overall, they're very good. The neck wounds are well detailed and look pretty nasty. When Scout Leader Rogers, his charred remains are walking around, he actually looks like a burn victim with like beyond fourth degree burns all over his body. Um, Overall, the special effects for the zombies there are very, very, very solid. So let's get to the cons. I really just have three. Oh, the last sort of pro that I have is that the TNA approach, because there's a lot of graphic nudity. Well, not a lot, but there is graphic nudity in this film. And, I'm not saying that a movie has got to have nudity in it in order for it to be good. Not saying that whatsoever. However, the way it's used in this film, mainly in one scene, it leads to probably the second funniest scene in the entire movie. Earlier in the film, when Ben and Carter were trying to get in the liquor store to get some beer, there was a female police officer that came out. She was wearing this really, really tight police uniform, and she clearly had like double D size breasts. And later in the film, she becomes zombified, and she gets caught in a fence that had been closed behind her, and her tight police shirt rips open, revealing her giant tits. And they're waving around in front of Carter's face in slow motion, and you get a shot of Carter's face, and he's saying, "Oh my god." Oh shit. Oh god, that scene just had me in stitches. And what topped it off was he, he grabs a fucking zombie's tits and squeezes them twice. Runs away. He says, "I touched them. I can't believe I touched them. I don't think they were real." So the TNA humor in this movie is it'll just leave you in stitches. So let's get to the cons now. I have three cons with the film. One is that I do think the film is too short. The movie clocks in at 90 minutes. And in my opinion, that is way too fucking short. This leads into another issue that I have with the film. So I'll just leave it at that for now. I wish this movie was 2 hours long. So that way you could expand upon the characters more, expand upon the zombie situation more, and also expand upon some of the better ideas that the film has that just get kind of shortchanged. But again, I'll explain that when I get to the third con. The second con is, it has to do with the humor. There's too much fucking selfie jokes in this movie. I don't like a lot of modern mainstream high school selfie bullshit jokes. I think they're fucking stupid. I don't like text slang. Like if someone was like, I don't type lol or brb or rotf or shit like that. I just think it's fucking stupid. Not to mention it is lazy. Or idk or ikr. I just think that it's really fucking stupid. And a lot of that humor is, or not a lot, but there is too much of the selfie joke humor. I just think it's really stupid, really unnecessary, and it's just I could have done without the selfie jokes. But the last con that I have for this movie is that I feel like the third act is a little rushed. And this leads to the fact that I think the film is too short. When Ben, Carter, and Augie are going on their rampage with their improvised weapons, it's a great, awesome scene, but it's over way too short. It feels very rushed, and it just leaves you wanting more. It really does leave you wanting more. And just in general, I feel like the third act of this movie leaves you wanting more. It's got a great first and second act, but overall, I think the third act could have been a lot better. I think it could have been 20 minutes longer, and I would have been perfectly fine. But no, it's not, unfortunately. So that's those are really my only issues. I feel like it's too short. I don't like the selfie jokes, and the third act really does feel rushed. Um, but with all that said, sorry if this review is a little short too. I guess I didn't have that much to say about it, other than the movie's great. Um, this is one of my favorite zombie movies ever made. In my opinion, I think it's the second greatest zombie comedy ever made, right behind Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is like the king of zombie comedies, but I think this one comes very, very close. Um, it's got great characters, great zombie kills, a good soundtrack too. I probably should mention that. Um, the movie is fucking hysterical, and I think if you decide to give this movie a pass, you're doing yourself a disservice because this movie really is that fucking funny, in my opinion. So I'm gonna rate this movie an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's got some problems, but it's still, I feel, is a very, very, very solid film. And if you're a big zombie movie fan, I highly recommend you check it out. You may not get much out of it, but I think what you will get out of it, you will appreciate. So an 8 out of 10, it's a very solid score. So post your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with your friends, and as always, go make your own improvised weapons and go out and kick some zombie ass. And I will see you in the next one.